Let me turn my microphone off.
I get old. This never gets
Oh,
old.
there's not me.
Thursday night, and well, she says it's 5:30, and I'm starving. I've had such a crazy day today.
I hear that like a lot. Go throughout my day. People like the food for sure. I'm glad you're here, though.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm here too.
That's Stacy's here too.
Yeah, I'm letting my friend Stacy to be my date tonight. We'll be sitting 6 feet apart appropriately, so don't worry. Yeah, so I'm excited to have a guest in the building tonight. I'm excited to have Chef Dennis back. We are doing, is this our third?
This is our third, yeah. So, we're going to cook a really delicious pork schnitzel today, or some breaded pork up with tenderloin. One of my favorite things to eat during summertime, just like lean meats, light applications. And then we have a little bit of porcini flavored mushroom sauce. We're going to make some fresh spätzle, it's a German dumpling, and hopefully we'll just feed you delicious, delicious food.
Okay, I'm down with that.
Awesome.
So you guys that are cooking along tonight probably got a kit to cook along with. So Dennis is going to run through the kit with you. But while Dennis is cooking, I'm going to have a glass of wine. And well, I'm hoping you'll join me, Chef.
Yeah.
So we were really fortunate today to have a wine drive-by. Our friends at KISS Consulting, which is a local boutique wine agency, dropped off these beautiful BC wines for us to try. Lynette, the principal of KISS Consulting, saw the menu and she couldn't decide red or white, so she's like, you decide. So you decide.
Oh,
So we have a beautiful Pinot Noir from Lakeside Cellars in Osoyoos.
Oh, let's taste it.
Okay,
This is mine is fun.
Oh, and then decide. Oh, you're so smart.
Well, I can't just comment on that taste.
SMRT. Oh, it smells delicious. So we had a beautiful Pinot last week from Black Cloud.
That's so delicious. That's good. That's got really nice acidity. And I'm sure this was going to pair up really, really well with this pork, veal, or any poultry. Maybe not duck, but I would definitely can sip on this wine all summer night long. And for the daytime, we have this little hybrid here, which is my breakfast wine, 66% Chardonnay.
Chardonnay and Sauv Blanc, right?
And then 34, no.
64 and 36?
36, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, 66 and 34. Sorry, we're just figuring it out. It's okay. It's all the wine drinking that we do most of the day now, but it's summertime.
Thank goodness we're not here for the math class.
Oh, I'm good at math.
So, this is Lakeside Cellars. It's called Portage White. And I'm going to give that a try. I should have poured out the glass.
You know what, let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's not very kosher, but.
It's kosher. We're not kosher either. So.
But that being said, you live very dangerously and adventurously. Ooh.
This is nice. It's got a good amount of acidity from the Sauv Blanc, but I love the sort of rich mouthfeel from the Chardonnay.
This tastes just like summertime.
Yeah.
You should just have the whole bottle to yourself during lunchtime and switch to Pinot Noir. Let's not talk about the third bottle, okay?
We'll leave the Pinot Noir for you for the evening. And
depends on how late are you going to be in the evening.
So, anyhow, thank you to Lynette from KISS Consulting. Thanks to Lakeside Cellars for dropping these wines off. I hope you guys are spending your COVID time choosing your wine wisely. I know I've been drinking more at home. We're not necessarily drinking more, but we're drinking at home now instead of going to restaurants. Really? Come on.
What else
Chef.
is to do?
It's
It's summertime.
Okay, maybe I've been drinking a little bit more.
Also, just so you know, I know they say about a big bottle of wine, but a bottle of wine is 3 cups of liquid. It's not that big of a deal. Honestly. Only 3 cups. Only 3 of these.
Yeah.
It's doable.
Totally manageable.
Let's not encourage people. We might get sued on this.
So I hope you're buying BC wine, regardless of where it's coming from. But if you haven't heard of or tried Lakeside Cellars from the Osoyoos, give it a try. It's delicious, and we'll keep doing some quality control on these during the evening too. Would you like a glass of something while you're cooking?
I am going to get going with the cookie. And maybe at the end, if I deliver everything right. Oh, I don't need those.
Okay, you cook, you drink.
And you and Stacy enjoy a glass of wine, and let's have some fresh, delicious bites.
Okay, so if you guys have questions, I'm going to monitor the Facebook feed, so feel free to pop in with your questions, and I'll interrupt Chef while he's cooking and ask your questions. So if you've got something you want to say, feel free just to type it in.
Please roast me.
Roast me.
I get hecklers all the time. I will take all the heckling that you are capable of.
Well, they'll wait probably till the food's done before the roasting starts.
Also,
See how this turns out.
also it's in written form. Nobody might hear you.
Okay, so happy cooking, Chef. I'll be over here if you need me.
All right. Now, for your kits this week.
What do you like?
We've included few essentials that is in the recipe that you might not easily find in your local grocery stores. But the rest is mostly common household ingredients, and also I'm going to talk about the substitutions and what you can do and what is ideal if you don't have chestnut or creamy mushrooms. You can use white buttons and this and that. But first, your kits are going to come with whole nutmeg and this cute little grater. Isn't that cute though?
It's adorable.
I know. I love fresh nutmeg. Unless you're cooking 200 liters of sauce, please take your nutmeg and please do it fresh. And my mic is.
I think maybe
Ah.
just over here.
Oh, it might. Alright, and then with the nuts, and then we have a little bit of porcini powder and morel, thank you. Morel or dried morels, especially in blitzed form, are super delicious, and they're some of my favorites to cook with. If you're lucky enough, you can use fresh porcinis, but that's a rarity that we're going to talk about. Now we have a little bit Japanese style panko breadcrumbs. Also, these are a little bit coarser than your regular breadcrumbs, and these have been a kitchen favorite for the last 10 years. If you haven't been around, it's that little wooden spoon, because you can never have enough wooden spoons in the kitchen. As well as I want to talk about our little sherry vinegar. This is an aged sherry vinegar. Sets you back on $9.99, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's widely available most brand, and it is the most delicious sherry vinegar, in my opinion, that money can buy. There is one more version, a little bit older of it. The beauty about this vinegar, particular vinegar, is that it can stand up the cooking process without losing or curbing its acidity, such as rice wine vinegar, or like little weaker vinegars, but do. Okay, so that's in your kit. And then if you're cooking alone, I'm pretty sure you have the rest of the ingredients. Now let's put these to the side. Excuse me. Now, first things first, we are going to start with making this spatula because it needs to rest a little bit. You have the ingredients set up in your recipes. Please follow those, and please use try to be exact measurements. That little bit of extra moisture or a little bit of dry dough could end up in different textural results. Your recipes do not have any herbs added to it, but by all means, if you got a little bit of leftover green onions or chives, which I found a little bit of chives in the garden out here, so I just snip them off and just chop them in there. It's nice for color and a little bit of accent. Nutmeg is one of these things that makes it or breaks it. A little bit of nutmeg. I would say third of a little seed, a nut, yeah. And also, please do not swallow this. It is poisonous to your system.
Do not eat the nut.
Do not eat the nutmeg whole. A little bit at a time, okay? Otherwise, you will get lightheaded and all that. But let's not go there. Now, I am going to mix my little chives. There's a pinch of salt, my little nutmeg in here. To this, and that's my dry mix. To this, I will grab eggs. Okay, 1 egg in your recipe. It's just a nice summertime starch amount, but if you want, just double it up. It's always nice to have a little bit extra and the house, because it's a tasty thing to eat. Now, first I'm going to whisk my eggs, okay, as well as you can. With them adding my milk. Now, you can use buttermilk, regular milk, or any type of good quality milk that you can find. Okay? So you can do all the substitution. Obviously, buttermilk is going to give a little bit extra acidity. Now, alright, let's put those in here. This. Then I'm going to get a spatula or your wooden spoon from your kit and start mixing this around. Now, spatula is quite possibly the easiest way of making fresh pasta. If you're intimidated by the whole process of making fresh pasta or dumplings or, well, actually, it's more like a dumpling. If you're intimidated by the process, please just, and if you enjoy eating, quite enjoy eating fresh pasta, please take this recipe. This is as easy as it gets. What we're looking at is a nice cohesive dough, almost slightly looser than a scone dough, I would say. Okay, if it's too loose, you will fall apart. If it's too tough, it will be a very, very strong part. Now, this is my spatula dough that's been done. And I'm just going to leave it to the side to rest and hydrate a little bit, just to, for the little gluten matrix to start to develop a little bit. It's not going to take too long. I'm going to give it like 10 minutes or so. Now, after that, as you can see, I have marinated my sage. Just have a smell of this. Yeah.
So, Chef,
Yes.
Michelle is trying to cook along, and she says you're moving a little too quickly for her. So,
Okay. I just made the dough.
Okay.
Hi, Michelle. Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Let's just slow down.
Okay.
Now, assuming your pork tenderloin is nicely cleaned, as it instructs in the recipe, you just take those little ends. I love pork tenderloin. Pork tenderloin is one of life's great delights. But you're more than welcome to substitute any white or lean meat for this application. You don't eat pork.
Chef, Diane says that she's made the dough, but it's really sticky. Should it be sticky?
No, it's this is the consistency. If it is very, very sticky, okay, as you can see.
So it's.
I mean, this depends. Define sticky. It's not going to be as stiff as a pasta dough because you will want to be able to pass it through a little machine.
So it's soft enough to go through there, but it shouldn't pour, right?
No, not at all. No, if it's poured, it's probably too loose. Add a little bit of flour to your dough until, again, it becomes like
So it's
this.
like melting cheese.
It is like melting cheese again, just like I would say 72% hydration bread dough, if she's into bread. That might be a good, but that is quite sturdy ratio that I've given you. But that being said, that sometimes cups and tablespoons are not all created equal, and that might be, so if there's like a little variance in the measurements, it can get loose or hard very, very fast.
So Diane, if it's too sticky, just maybe add a little bit more dough, but you still want it, or flour, but you still want it to be nice and soft, like the texture of melted cheese.
Exactly. Okay. I know dough matters is a little bit tricky, but patience and dedication and a little bit of observing the texture of the dough rather than being about the proportions is the way to go. Now, with your tenderloins, I have pounded out 2 of them, and I put them in garlic and sage marinade already. Okay, which we can marinate this up to an hour to a whole day. So it's a fascinating way of eating, again, chicken, fish. You can substitute fish. If you're substituting fish, please don't hit fish with a mullet, because nice people just don't hit fish. Okay?
That's good general advice, Chef.
Yeah, don't abuse fish with high temperatures and rough handling. Okay? And if you don't know how, the practice makes it perfect. Now, again, make sure pork tenderloin You can pound it out as much as you want. The thinner it is, the hotter the oil needs to be, okay? But I found it eats best with a nice bite. All, I would say around maybe a third of an inch thick.
So you used the flat side of the tenderizer, not the coarse side, right?
Exactly. And if you don't have one, you get one of these. This is gonna pretty much flatten out anything. Or you can take anything that's slightly heavy. We're not taking something heavy and we're bashing it. We're just gently, it's such a tender muscle that we're just gently going to encourage to spread out a little bit. So we have a little bit of extra surface. Okay? And again, you can apply any marinade that you want. And whenever you're doing this, just stay away from salt, which we will talk in a minute. Okay. Now, the next thing we would like to do is to cook our sauce. I'm going to get our pan started here. And the components of my sauce is shallots and garlic. I found a little bit of thyme in the garden again. It's not in the recipe, you don't have to put it in. But if you have a little bit of thyme, rosemary, it goes brilliantly. I have a little creamy mushrooms. They're also called baby portobello mushrooms. You can substitute any mushroom. Okay, a little bit of dry white wine, a little bit of sherry vinegar, our delicious porcini powder, and cream to finish the sauce. So, now cooking mushrooms, first things first, can we talk about what a blessing it is to live in BC? That we have access to amazing wild mushrooms. And it's time, porcini, chanterelle, matsutake, cauliflower, and all those varieties around. These days, you can come across the morels, but I heard the forest fires, morels grow after forest fires the next season. Weren't as many, so the morel season is a little bit tight. I heard, and with all the COVID going on, it hasn't been easy to get a hold of these delicious mushrooms. Our forests are bursting with wild mushrooms, but that being said, I do not encourage anybody to go out there if you don't know what you're doing, and if you can't identify mushrooms properly. I mean, you might end up having one hell of a time in the woods, but you can get very disoriented and fall the cliff, get lost in the woods, get eaten by wildlife. I know it's not a pleasant thing to talk about. If you're going out there to pick mushrooms, please take somebody that knows what is going on.
You know, Chef, most of the cultivated mushrooms come from here in Langley. We have some of the biggest mushroom farms in BC.
Oyster and king?
The oyster mushrooms?
No, the oyster and king mushrooms they're ran by David, and that's where I go when I want tip top mushrooms. They do home deliveries around. It's oysterandking.com. But just write oyster and king mushrooms in Vancouver. They grow oyster mushrooms here, king oyster mushrooms, and they have all the varieties, amazing and super fresh. Now to this pan, I'm going to add a little bit of oil. Okay? Just a little bit, not too much.
What kind of oil is that, Chef?
This is just a grapeseed oil, and we're going to use a higher heat in cooking with the grapeseed oil because mushrooms take quite an amount of mushrooms require quite an amount of heat, and the reason for that is that mushroom is mostly made out of water, and what we're trying to do is coloring mushrooms while we're trying to take the water content out. Okay? If you're going for wild mushrooms, please bring them home, lay them on towels, and air dry them in the fridge to be able to properly saute them. There's a lot of people had bad experiences with mushrooms due to how they cook. So let me explain to you how the whole process works. So I always like to start with a hot and heavy pan, and a great rhythm. I don't know if you can hear this crackling right now from there, but I find, especially with sauce making, having a great sense of rhythm would give you the best results. It's just like playing a song, okay? So once you start with this rhythm, you should go. If you slow this down, mushrooms are going to start to release the moisture, and you're going to start boiling them, which eventually they will fry. But then we're talking about a really soft and overcooked mushroom. So it is important to start with a hot pan. Can you wash your mushrooms, since you asked? Yes, you can wash your mushrooms. Ideally, mushrooms are mostly water and they're very absorbent. That's why this is delicious. You can manipulate their flavor the way you want. Okay. You can. Sorry, let me just turn this off. So you can wash your mushroom, but it has to be done just before the cooking process. Just like I've done it. It's like 5 minutes ago. I just like to shake them off in the water. So all that little dirt that might be just stuck into the gills there just falls down, and then you don't toss them off. You just lift up your mushrooms, and you start cooking with it immediately. Now, as you can hear, I got a nice little crackling still going on. Again, you're more than welcome to use any mushrooms. I find TNT is amazing varieties of mushrooms. I don't know if I'm allowed to this.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
TNT has a very, very decent selection of mushrooms. It's a great place to buy it. But again, since Oyster King is Oyster and King mushrooms is doing home deliveries, phone them up. Their produce is amazing. Also, if you don't know where to get white truffle, call David up. He is the mushroom man, and he will get you what you want at the best price and best quality.
So, Chef, we have people who are watching who don't live in Vancouver. They maybe live in the Okanagan or someplace where they don't have the access that we do. So they're more limited. So just a regular white button mushroom will work. Whatever you can get at your local supermarket will work.
Also, I find white button mushrooms are so underrated. They're so available. They're the most affordable one. And again, just as mushrooms and absorbent of flavors, you can easily manipulate what would come out of it. And then another neat trick is just use other potent mushrooms flavors just to flavor the sauce. Now, as you can hear, I got a nice coloring on my mushrooms. Now, like you can see, my mushrooms are almost kind of like looking a little wet. They're coated with oil, very, very. Uh-oh. What was it? Give me a second. They're coated with oil, so when they contact the heat in the pan, that they start picking up nice colors. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more of oil. Okay. Now, as you can see, the frying started to be different now. Now, this is the time that I am going to introduce my shallots and my garlic. Again, we're building up our flavor. First, we started working on caramelizing our mushroom and getting the moisture content and condensing it, fortifying their flavor. And then we just sauteing in a little bit of fat. Now we got mushroom flavor that's been being really, really nice caramelized. Now we flavor the whole thing with thyme, garlic, and shallot. So we're just building up these little steps of sauce making. Now, this is a very traditional way of making a classical French sauce. Again, it starts on this one. It's usually starts with the mushrooms themselves, so you can get a nice color without burning the oil. But right afterwards, then we start flavoring our base with shallots, garlic, and just by sweating them very, very slowly. But then again, I still have the same rhythm and the same noise that's coming out of my pan, and that is very, very crucial. Okay? So.
You can tell you're a musician, Chef, because No, you are so. You're a musician, and you can tell because you talk about the rhythm of the pan.
I love music, and also kitchen work requires very, very long hours and same repetitive tasks. So I prefer having music. It gives me a sense of rhythm, sense of time, as well as it's a great thing to listen to, rather than your ambient noise heads. Okay. All right, now I am really going to turn the heat up on this. We're being friends with this. What's up today?
I know, that's great job, Chef. You're getting used to it.
Well,
Induction is hard to get used to if you don't cook on it
Yeah.
every day.
because every induction is different. And,
It doesn't like when you take the pan off the stove.
I had a gas stove top at home that's fallen apart, but she's still like a 10. Still works. Now, again, as you can see now, all my shallots are nicely sweated.
We need smell-o-vision.
Oh, I just know so much. He used to use that. Now, again, as you can see that it is slowing my rhythm down. Now, sorry, all the way again. Now, we're going to go with sherry. You know what? Let's just taste it first. First things first. A good pinch of salt. Okay? Pinch of pepper if you want a little bit warm, which I like. We don't want aggressively French sauces, because French cuisine is designed for wine. So black pepper is not very nice with its spiciness. It's nice and warm and it complements your wine. I'm going to shake. Now that comes my sherry vinegar. And sherry vinegar and mushrooms are like husband and wife. They go super duper together. Okay? They are like a match made in heaven.
Oh my gosh, that smells so amazing.
Now, first things first, the sherry is gone and my mushrooms are dry again. Now we go back on the heat. Hello. Now we're going to add our white wine. I cook the sherry off. And at this rate, and now it smells like chocolate and a little bit of heat, I think. But these funky aromas are very, very delicious in cooking, such as fish sauce, you know what I mean? They have their uses, and dry porcini powder is an amazing addition to your food. Depends, I don't know where you get your dry porcini powder from, so it varies in strength and quality. The best thing to do is just to buy the actual dry porcinis and use a little, here's mine. And use a little spice blender, like a little spice blitzer or whatever it's called, to make the powder. So you know that nothing else goes into it but just dry porcinis. You can use substitute morels easily also. You can't do fresh porcinis because it's not the season. And fresh morels, well again, if you're lucky enough to be able to just get fresh morels and have them at like, I don't know, $20 for 200 grams. Yeah, by all means, go for it. But if you can't get that expensive stuff, just like Ina Garten says, just a regular store-bought. It's just fine. Okay?
But the porcini powder, if you keep that in your pantry, I find adding a little pinch of it to other things adds that sort of really depth of like umami flavors.
Exactly. It is such a potent and a wonderful thing. Like, there are a few accents that come out from mushrooms that I find fascinating. Like, one of them would be this. Oh, no, that one is chosen. Like truffle oil. Like, some people just despise truffle oil and they say, oh, it might be synthetic, but its accent is actually quite delicious. And honestly, whether it's synthetic, natural, whatever it is, or if it's a real truffle or not, which I pay for real truffles. Some real truffles I pay, but a really big disappointment. But again, like porcini, morel, or again truffle oil, like these accents just complement the food, even if they're not pronounced, but they can be like really embedded in your sauce and give that unctuous and deep umami flavor that everybody is looking for. That being said, just because you put a pinch of this into your sauce, it's not going to be delicious at all. That's if you do everything right, okay? Now, again, I'm going to pour the cream. And this.
That's whipping cream, Chef?
That is 36%, or it could be 33% whipping cream. And this is how I'm going to finish my sauce. You can again put a handful of parsley chopped or green onions, whichever is easiest. Now, let's make our stuff. this one can come to this side. This one can go to that side. I am going to reduce my sauce until it coats the back of the spoon when it's dipped, which it is right now. It just needs a tad more. Good. I hate to say this, but that's good gravy.
It's good gravy. Is that what she said?
It is good gravy. All right, now we do spatula dough. You can prepare spatula in a day in advance. You're more than welcome to do so. But I highly suggest that it's such a fast recipe. You should just make it fresh every time. You can take cooked spatula and you can freeze it. But then again, freezing fresh pasta is not the best thing to do. So just keep on making it. If you're cooking this recipe for a large amount of people, then just keep it in your keep it in your fridge up to a day or a day and a half. And if you're going to freeze it, actually cooked pasta, since the starch is all gelatinized and set, freezes a little bit better than the raw pasta. But if you freeze it, you're not going to have that accent of that fresh flour and fresh egg, which usually disappears from fresh pasta in about 6 to 7 hours. The best fresh pasta is just like, done, pinched in the water, into the pan, in your mouth, and repeat all over again. Okay. Now, my water is salted and it's slightly simmering. I'm going to start passing my dough. Okay, as you can see, it should come out just like this. Okay?
So, Chef, that is a Spätzle maker that we sell here at Well Seasoned. They're not expensive. I think they're about $12.
You should have one.
But if you don't have one, how do you do this without one of those?
You can use a colander, or you can use. Oh, let me finish this. You can use anything that has. Oh no! Rookie mistake. You can use anything that has the same.
Sorry,
has the
Chef.
same size of holes. Okay. It could be a colander. It could be a grater. Anything goes.
A cheese grater.
Huh?
A cheese grater would work?
It depends on the findings of it, but it should, yeah. I mean, if you can force it through anything and just like drop it in the water, anything would work. Now it cooks in about 30 seconds because it's fresh pasta. It doesn't need a whole lot of cooking. Okay, and at this stage, what you want is to make sure that it is nice and dry. The last thing you want, the steam that's coming out of it, is going to start drying this, okay? You want nice and dry. You don't want any hot water sitting in there because if you do, it will start to eat away from your pasta and outside will be cooked or mush. And you will have a really, really tasty dumplings. And dash your olive oil. Dash your olive oil to keep them separate. Oh man, just like back in my early cooking days. Okay? And then give it a nice toss and a shake. Again, this is good to go in your fridge. To reheat it, you just simply need to just pan fry it in a little bit of butter, I would say, just to give it a little color and heat them up. Also, as they cook, they expand and become really pillowy and super light and delicious because as things heat, they do expand. Okay, now let's talk about something called the breading process. Now, breading is, let's get rid of this. Now, breading is a great way of cooking nice lean meats because they create a crust on the outside which encapsulates all the moisture in. So it's great for super lean meats such as chicken breast, fish, and even you can use it on some of the game, depending on what it is. But you can totally do the same recipe with venison also, which is a super lean meat which can benefit from that nice little crusting. Okay? Now, we will need 3 things to bread our tenderloins. Okay? Now, you gotta break the will of the egg, otherwise, if the white structure is still on there, it might easily slip off your crust. So, when you whisk your egg, please make sure that it's whisked truly, not this. That doesn't do anything. Okay? Yes. Alright. Now to this I will add, here's my panko and here's my flour. Now when you bread things, you can see it all right?
Yep.
Awesome. When you bread things, some people put salt in their flour, but if salt is not hydrated, it's not going to disperse itself around. You'll have like random salt granules in the flour. It's not going to season your meat. So instead of seasoning the flour, I usually season my protein. Not that difficult, eh? Now, the only thing you can't do, the only thing you can do is do this like way ahead of time, okay? Because the salt that you had will start to extract the moisture. And then your breading will turn into a really, really soggy breading, very, very fast, okay? So if you were to cook this for 300 people, let's say, I don't know why would you do that to yourself. Okay, please just take a brine recipe from internet and brine your pork chops or pork chops if you're using a pork tenderloin, and then all right, we're good. And then dry it, and then bread. Then your meat will be seasoned inside out with brine.
If you're making schnitzel for 300, call me because I want to see that.
Sure. I tackle many of those tasks. Now, first line of defense, seasoned tenderloin, and we're going to use 1 wet hand and 1 dry hand. Okay, we're just going to dip the seasoned tenderloin, shake it around in flour. Your wet hand drops it because you're touching something wet. Now it's dry. Now the first coat of flour is going to give us a first line of defense. If there is any moisture that's been pushed out, because as things heat, they expand, it will start to push out the moisture from within the meat. Now, any escaping moisture is going to get trapped by the flour and it's going to be absorbed, so it will keep your meat, it will keep moisture in your meat. So that's the first one. So I totally destroyed my wet hands. But I still remember, this is the dry, sorry. Now with the dry hand, we just grab it. This is the second line of defense. If may God forbid any of that moisture gets out, the wet hand goes in. Okay? Now this is a protein blanket that is going to coagulate as the heat reaches to the middle of it. Okay? So this is your second line of defense, and from this, with the wet hand, it goes into panko, and this is going to give us the whole crisp mouthfeel. Okay? And then shake off the excess. Make sure that you have a nice coating. It doesn't. Some people double it. I don't like heavy things. It's also summertime, so it should be really, really light-hearted. Okay. Again, my wet hand goes in the flour. Take this out. Shake it around. Okay. Now wet hand comes in. Sorry, dry hand comes in. I told you not to give me wine.
You had 1 sip.
I might be lightweight. Dry hand goes in. Okay. Now we're on the wet part and everything is coated nicely. Shake off the excess. Hand to the panko. Dry hand grabs this one, gets in here. Shake the panko. See, it's like a nice little assembly line. Nice little assembly line. Again, that's my second fillet. Again, I'm in the wet zone. Wet hand turns it around. Excess goes away. And it goes with the panko. And as you can see, I have a nice breaded cutlet. This makes an amazing summertime dish, evening dish. I will use that little piece of bread. Yeah. Any questions, Angie? No questions?
Barb says, put your right hand in, put your left hand in, take them out and shake them all around. It's Barb basically is recommending the hokey pokey with your. Well, we were on the music theme, chef. So.
Thank you, Barb. I might do it. Okay, so this is that had raw meat on it. Just cover that. So now comes the part that we start going towards the end of the dish. Now I'm going to start my little pan here. Ideally, what you're looking at is. Ideally, what you're looking at is around 300 or 325 Fahrenheit. Again, the thicker your, if you're over half an inch thick, you might consider to put it in an oven option. Okay. But 3 minutes per side, around 1/3 of an inch thick or 1/4 of an inch thick is usually good to go around 300, 325. Buy one of these. Come down to our season mainly and buy a little probe thermometer. So you can make sure until you master the task. Once you master the task and do it repeatedly over and over and successfully, then you can just put this to the side and use it for your roast and whatnot. But for now, I suggest use the science on your side, so you don't have to do guesswork with, especially if you're a very, very experienced chef, home chef. Okay, so let's go 2 things at a time. Now, in my pan, I'm going to start cooking my pork tenderloins, breaded cutlets, and in the bottom pan here, I'm going to start to. Actually, I'm going to do it this way.
So the heat is off under your sauce, right? It's just resting?
Heat is off, it's just resting there, and I'll show you the consistency again. All I need to do is, and you can do the sauce 3-4 days ahead of time. Again, I love very, very loose gravies, nothing too thick, but once you just put the back of the spoon, it just coats it. Again, light is a skill, light is delicious, and you should cook light more. It's very easy to jam butter, fat into everything and make it tasty. But just to make it tasty, like that and keep it light is a skill. It's a great skill. I swear it's coming. Okay, so here's my grapeseed oil. Now you don't want to skip on your oil, okay? And the reason why I'm telling you that is if your breading starts to contact the hot metal rather than the oil, because we're using the oil as a conductor here, then you will start scorching your crust, and it's going to be uneven. And it might, I mean, it's not the end of the world if it happens. Don't stress out too much. But that being said, if you want a nice, even coloring. I want to see where I'm at. I am at 122 Fahrenheit, which is way for, 150, 160. So it's climbing up super fast. Now, in this pan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to saute my spatula and just give it a nice golden color. So you can use regular oil, but I'm going to use a little bit of butter, and that's butter. Oh, actually, wait.
Didn't you just talk about keeping it light?
Yeah. Butter is good for you.
Never mind.
You can do it with olive oil too. But, just like my mother used to say, just if you do something, do it right, or just don't do it at all. Alright? Those are my spatula. Then I'm going to keep an eye on this until this just starts to pop up nicely, rather nicely on the outside. Light coloring, you don't have to go too aggressive. Also, this is a delightful thing to have around the kitchen. It is a very delicious thing to eat. It's great if you're doing a little broth. You can easily just take a handful from the fridge and whisk it into your broth, and it's great texture. I kind of like it in salads too, but then again, you cannot be fresh. Now, if you do not have a thermometer tonight, and if you wanna, where's the thermometer? And if you would like to cook this recipe, you can take one of the sage leaves that's in the recipe if you have someone around now, and you just, I don't want to lift up the hot oil. You want to come to bring the phone in here?
Sure.
So, once you just put your sage in, as you can see how it blooms and starts opening up. That tells me that it's around like 275 Fahrenheit. So I'm just going to give this one more minute, sorry, not one more minute, 20 more seconds, and then we're going to drop our pork. So far so good? Everybody's keeping up or what?
Yeah, I think for a couple of people it's moving a little quickly, but I mean, in fairness, we only have an hour to get through the recipe.
Exactly.
So in a cooking class, when you're here in real time, it's a bit easier to follow along, but when you're home, maybe it's a bit more challenging. So this video is available to replay. So you can just put it on, on replay and finish your dinner, like in real time right now, if you're a few minutes behind.
Exactly, and I also encourage people, I would rather just spend a little bit time paying attention to the steps than taking the recipe and cooking the next day is most ideal. But here goes my little pork. Okay, it's nicely bubbling. Then as you can see, there's quite a amount of oil in there.
But you don't want to overcrowd that pan, right, Chef?
No, you cannot. Especially in a frying application like this. If moisture starts coming out, you will have a big crackling pan and a very serious health hazard for sure, very, very fast. But anyway, so this is frying rather nicely. And then move to the middle now, it's good.
Is the heat still on under the spatula?
Yeah. I am just keeping it warm, bringing it up to temperature, and I have very, very light coloring. Now, spaghetti is the only pasta application or dumpling application. Actually, sometimes we do it in gnocchis too. It gets sauteed in hard fat. If you're making any other pasta, I highly suggest that please do not saute your pasta with your other fresh pasta in hot fat because it will make it tough. And all that big experiences might get very, very unpleasant. So I'm just going to check on my. Let's fry it rather nicely.
What are you checking for, Chef?
I am checking for color, making sure that it's not getting scorching. I'm checking for if I have hot spots in the pan, which using enough oil is just one of the reasons why we did, so that there's no hot spots and scorching points. And as you can see, these are all puffed up and rather nice, and smells like brown butter, and it's lightly colored.
So they're starting just to toast a little bit.
Just a little bit. It's got that nice nutty brown butter aroma. It's an extra flavor. As well as, let's turn our sauce on too, because this thing is coming very, very close to eat.
Stacy's most excited about this.
I will be too. Now I'm gonna flip my tenderloin here, and then. It's not a great idea to stab the meat at this point, but check for doneness. Now, some people prefer pork or well done, and well done can be I'm sitting around like 90 to 96, 90 to 100 Fahrenheit right now. I usually stop cooking my pork around 130, but that, or 132 maybe, but that rule only applies to me, and that's how I like pork. I love the succulence of it. Sorry. Good. Actually, let's just turn it down a little bit.
I think the Canadian pork people or the BC pork people recommend a minimum doneness of about 140.
It is, again though, we buy exceptional quality meats and work with free range because we're blessed enough. If you're around that area, if you use that quality meat, you can totally eat pork medium rare.
So, I mean, we use Johnston's pork here almost exclusively, which is in Chilliwack, and their pork is phenomenal.
They grow a really good pork. Yeah.
And so I think people are just so used to overcooking pork. They need to get their head around the fact that it doesn't need to be, super dry and mealy inside.
First things first, we should stop blaming animals for it, right? It's like chicken breast is dry, poultry is dry. Like, no, there are two types of people in this world. People who can cook pork chops and chicken breast, and people who isn't unfortunate enough to figure it out yet. Other than that, every meat is very, very supplemental. Also, encrusting your meat into a little breading like this will ensure that all the moisture stays inside. But again, these recipes are very good recipes, but a recipe is a method, and it will be as good as the skill level of the cook. So don't be hard on yourself. Patience is the key in trial and error.
So Diane is still waiting for her oil to heat. So I guess depending on the pan, how deep the oil is, how many portions you're cooking.
Exactly. So again, with home cooks, I usually, or whenever I train professional cooks also. Okay. Yeah, we're almost there. I train also professional cooks. Okay. But I can give you guidelines. But this stovetop and this pan is not saying nothing. The universal response of cooking to heat, to anything that's in there, is this. And the crack, you should be focusing on crackling, the crackling rhythm of the pan, and just pay attention to whatever is happening in the pan. This reaction of heat to meat on this occasion is same in Vietnam, same in Istanbul, same on an open campfire, as long as you're at the right temperature. So again, oven times and pan times are a great guideline and give you an idea. But absolutely focus here. And if you really want a successful result, use the technology until you master the task. Because that's what Pablo Picasso said, right? You have to learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. Okay? Now, I'm going to pull my pork out. I am sitting at like 135. Let's see if I'm going to get a pass from the ladies. Are you not pink pork eaters?
Oh yes, I love it. I mean, I grew up on overcooked pork. That is the food of my youth. And so I am definitely a proponent for cooking pork just until it's done.
And actually most proteins. Because you'll be surprised, actually most things don't need that long cooking times. But until we're instructed to do so, we're just kind of like skeptical about the whole thing. So people tend to just try to be as safe rather than sorry, right? We just don't want to poison the family or the family unit. So,
and you've pulled it out now, and it's going to keep cooking because of the residual heat.
Exactly. Like if you don't believe me, just dip your finger in that pan. You'll probably get a second degree burn in about 5 seconds. So that heat will trap. Don't do it.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Anyway, I have some extra sage leaves here, which I'm going to toss it in my oil. This is like a little fancy garnish. It's not in the recipe again. Well, we've done everything right. You might as well finish strong. So that's what cooking is. Just a bunch of small things that is done right. I'm going to turn on my Strazzi also. I got 3 burners going on, all full of heat. And we're about to eat, well, I guess we're about to feed you ladies a delicious, delicious dinner. Okay? Alright. Now, once your crackling stops with your herb leaves, this could be basil, you can use Italian parsley, you can use
Chef, is the heat still on under the oil?
that is on.
Okay.
And these are, the best herb frying temperature is around 300 Fahrenheit or 100, I don't know, 50 Celsius, around that. It doesn't get scorched as fast, not that it should be. All right, now I'm going to turn my element off. Hope that this is going to come up to a boil right now. Okay. Now, one last little green garnish. You know I love my greens, and you should eat them. They might be good for you. I don't know. No. So. Now,
Sorry, chef, one more question.
Sure.
There's a lot of moisture in the herbs, and so are you worried about dropping the fresh herbs into the oil and sort of the splatter from that?
Absolutely. Now, if you take a pan like this, fill up here, and if you put about 200 grams of sage leaves in there, your kitchen is going to explode. It's just a little bit of common sense. I mean, there is that thing, but again, I just put in about like, I don't know, like 10 of them in that little pan, so it didn't expand and jump out and all that. All right? Now, let's do this. Now, our sauce, let's start with our sauce. I always put the gravy to the bottom and put all the pork to the top because you've done all that hard work. I'm here. Okay, and how crispy that is, you want to keep that crisp. Now, I'm just going to pour my gravy on the bottom of the plate. This is for two. Let's see. You can put the little cloth and tap your sauce. Now, I'm going to grab.
Chef, can you pull that plate a bit closer to you, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Then a little bit of spice. So just try to keep it in the middle. And if not, don't.
Just do what you do.
The food is delicious and it's there. Get it on the plate. That's the whole point now. And then that is your little fried pork cutlet.
So you went to all the trouble of frying that. So the sauce is on the bottom so your cutlet stays nice and crispy, I'm guessing.
Exactly. As you want, as you eat, you want this meat to retain its crispness. But that being said, I've got a little bit of mushy dipped in the sauce here. Dipped in the sauce. Don't worry about it too much. Just don't mention it continuously. You know what the professionals, as the real professionals say, oh, if it's slightly overcooked, it's probably fine. Unless you're charging people money, and that's different. That's a different story. And this is our little pork schnitzel with a porcini cream sauce, spätzle, and fried sage leaves, and a little bit of peppery arugula. The recipe calls for watercress. Then again, if the arugula is better at the marketplace, just go and buy it. Arugula rather than the watercress. I just want a nice pepper relief, just and a little bit of freshness and the texture. And let's see if we're going to pass the test.
Okay, I'm coming back there with my fork. But, chef, you left your wine out.
Oh, jeez.
You earned it. You did earn it.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to. Yeah, that's nice. Let's get rid of this plate to the side.
Okay, luckily I have a weapon for you.
Okay.
For me. So, I've never made this. I've ordered it in restaurants, but I've never made this at home. I don't know why, I never thought about it. A traditional spätzle that I've had in the restaurant comes with lemon and capers. Are you familiar with that version?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like a little pasta dish, and you can just dress it up. Like if I'm doing seafood, sure, get some lemon in there. And also, it's always smart to serve it.
That's so perfectly cooked.
I got my kid.
That looks beautiful, and it's so crispy.
And it's, you can cut it with a, well, almost like a butter knife.
It is a butter knife.
It's a butter knife.
Okay.
Passes?
You're hired. Okay, so, oh my gosh, that's so delicious.
Isn't it so
Spatula
tender and,
or spatula? I always say it wrong.
I'm not German either, so.
I'm not German, but
Mm.
it's delicious. And I don't love sage, but the fried sage in this is so perfect. It's so crispy.
It's one of life's great, sorry.
Sometimes sage tastes moldy to me because it's so earthy and strong. You can really overdo it. But I think when you fry it, it's a totally different animal.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, just those strong herbs might come across like really woodsy, and they might get quite overwhelming and potent. But balancing your act in your dish is one of the tricks. Comes with experience. And I understand if you mess it up at home, you're gonna end up eating that anyway. But that would be a good reminder just to try a little bit harder next time that you pay a little bit more attention, so that you always take your product to better and better and better and better. If you're interested in cooking, I'm assuming you are, because you're here right now.
Right?
Well,
Cheers.
thank you
Yeah,
for inviting
thank
me.
you. Thanks for being here. Cheers to Stacy.
Stacy.
Thanks for coming here tonight with us.
All right, guys.
And you know, you just said it takes practice. So your spatzel tonight probably isn't going to be totally perfect. Your schnitzel probably isn't going to be super crispy like this. It might be, good for you. But make it again next week and keep trying. How many times have you made this? Hundreds.
So I've been yelled at, pushed around. There's no other way of learning. Again, the thing about home cooking that frustrates people the most is, in a restaurant, if I mess it up, I won't take your money, but I will stop anyone, and I will be called out for ruining protein. But in a home setting, if it sucks, you're still eating that because you paid for it, and it might get. But again, I used to do the egg station with the cooks. I used to train a lot of egg cooks at this very busy cafe that I used to work. And my rule of thumb is, if you break an egg during service, you're gonna eat it. So either you have a heart attack or learn not to cook eggs. Very, very, very fast. So I never came to that was a joke. No. But again, don't be patient. Be enthusiastic about it, and just pay attention to the details, because those little details and doing things right is the whole trick to cooking.
But you know what? This is so simple. Really, the ingredients you started with were just basic ingredients that most people have in their home. You can buy pork tenderloin in any supermarket. Now, all of this stuff, aside from maybe the porcini powder and the sherry
It's
vinegar,
not necessary. I mean, sherry vinegar, I would invest in it, but if you don't have the porcini powder, just don't use it. It's fine.
Right.
It's not the end of the world.
yeah, change it up a little bit. Maybe use some beef stock or something.
You can enrich it, absolutely. You can push it further. But again, just simple things done right will deliver, I promise you, every single time. Learn the cooking process, then you start jazzing on it, on taking shortcuts. But learn how to make this fast dough. Be confident with it. Confidence is the key too. Be confident with it. Work on your sauce. Work on your breading. You know, everybody gets there. It's just a matter of what do they say? Repetition is it's the only way that you can get good at something. Like nobody just actually is born with a magic wand, whatever. You know, just that so you can just step in and start cooking like Gordon Ramsay. No, you know.
Like you.
But like again, if when you read a recipe, read it properly, try to stick with it as best as you can, and then ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions if there is somebody there that knows it a little bit better. But I promise you, because professional people use the exact same recipes that home cooks use. We don't have a special staff that will blow anybody's socks or whatever. You know, spatula is just, there's a ratio to spatula. If you do it right, it just delivers. But again, you have to make your dough. It has to be the right consistency. It has to rest a little bit so you got that nice gluten matrix just, or release that is called, just starting to develop. And you pull it out. Now you have to have right size of holes. You have to push it. You cannot overcook it. You have to pull it out and release it. So we've done everything right that it's a decent product. That doesn't need extra complications or mold or bacteria, whatever it is. So I'm a big believer in simple.
And if it's not perfect, there's wine.
Yeah, keep drinking.
Right? I mean, I've had so many dinner parties where I've been like, wow, this is maybe not my best work. I'm just going to serve these guys another glass of wine, and they're not going to notice that it isn't perfect.
And if it's that bad, switch to vodka, and everybody will be out in a minute.
So we did have a request from Bill Chef
Sure.
that your recipes for the next few classes have measurements in imperial. So tablespoons, cups, because they're not measuring by the ounce or by the gram,
Okay.
like you do in a professional kitchen. When you're translating a recipe from a kitchen, everything is done by weight.
Yeah, for consistency, it's important because, but you would sometimes go to kitchens and their cups and tablespoons are not. Right. Are not. They're not. It's hilarious. It can be so off. So, but sure, I will make sure that we all switch to cups and milliliters and volume rather than. But that being said, for the people who still don't have a kitchen scale,
Buy one.
it's 2020, man. Like, buy one, seriously.
Buy a scale.
It'll give you all the precision you ever want.
Yeah, buy a scale and
And
buy a
good quality.
thermometer.
Exactly.
This
Make
is
your life easy.
like such a good investment,
Oh.
and they're like $20. Really, they're not massively expensive, but they're a
Not
really good
anymore,
investment. Yeah. So next week, what are we
We're
cooking?
doing harissa salmon, and I'm going to show you Russian potato salad.
I'm excited.
Oh yeah, for real, it's one of my favorite things to eat. If a fancy chef is coming to my house to eat, it will be the dish that I'm cooking. And it's also, you can just bake the salmon all at once, so it's not as stressful with your crispy skin and this and that. No, this one is going to be soft, lush, and super, super delicious. That's my personal promise.
So I'm the fancy chef coming to your house next week.
Sure.
I'm excited.
I'll be here.
Okay, good. So
Awesome.
next week we're doing on Thursday night with Chef Dennis. You can get all the information on our website, and the event is listed on our Facebook page. We also have a new chef joining us on Tuesday, Chef Craig Scherer. Chef Craig is the executive chef at the Bowen Stern in Abbotsford, and I'm sure a lot of our local clients have had the opportunity to eat at the Bowen Stern, which is a really delicious seafood restaurant in Abbotsford.
I'll try it too.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe, yeah, sure,
We can
absolutely.
go and write a really bad Yelp review.
No. Good people don't yell.
Yes, good people don't yelp.
Yeah, thank
Yes. So Craig is joining us next Tuesday. So he is also making salmon, but he's doing it on the barbecue. He's doing cedar plank salmon with an Israeli couscous and some blistered veg. It'll be a really good class, and I'm excited to get this class outdoors on our barbecue. And
Salmon season is coming.
No.
It's almost there. Height of the wine must be exploding very
you know what
soon.
else is coming, Chef? Spot prawn season.
I think it's here already.
No, June 4th it opens. They delayed the harvest a month.
Oh,
So can we do a spot prawn class?
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Just go get your mortgages, okay, from the bank. Because when I cook, when I want to really indulge on food, I don't cook positions, but I actually just grab. Well, I won't show you a dish with 5 spot prawns, but it'll probably have a pound of spot prawns that's already included, everything in it. So, yeah, let's do it.
So June 4th, I talked to our fishmonger today, Heather, who owns One Fish, Two Fish here in Langley, and she advised me that spot prawn season opens on June 4th. So we'll definitely focus on the class with spot prawns for June. So anyhow, all of this will be posted on our website and on our Facebook page. So thanks for cooking along with us tonight, or thanks for
Thank
drinking
you.
along with us tonight.
Thanks for showing up.
And
It really makes our day go ahead.
it's so good. It's
It
so
is.
fun. This is just the craziest thing, this COVID thing, and I'm really hoping we'll get back to real in-person cooking classes later, maybe later in the summer, late June, July, and we'll be able to have you back here in our kitchen. But in the meantime, this is good, and I'm so thankful to you for being so flexible and wanting to come out here and hang out with me and Stacy.
It's always a delight, always a pleasure.
Oh, you're
Always
so
a pleasure.
kind. Okay, I'm going to sign off now because my schnitzel's getting cold. So, cheers to you. I hope you had fun tonight. I hope you learned some new things. Hopefully, we'll
out there, right here.
Cheers to you. And the wine information will be posted on our Facebook page. And drink local, shop local.